Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to another installment of On This Day with Christy. Hello. Today is Friday, June 5th, 2026. This being Friday, we're going to take our magic band and start with a recap of Monday and Wednesday, and then we'll learn some new stuff about today. Monday's recap. In 1972, the Eagles released their self-titled album featuring hits such as Take It Easy. In 1977, Bob Marley and the Wailers began a residency at London's Rainbow Theatre. In 1967, David Bowie released his self-titled debut album. In 1968, Simon and Garfunkel topped the charts with Mrs. Robinson. In 1963, Leslie Gore reached number one with It's My Party. There's a part 2 to that. In 1981, the UK Metal magazine, Kerrang, published its first issue. Monday's factoids and events. In 2024, India's general elections set a record with 642 million voters. In 2009, General Motors filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In 1994, South Africa rejoined the Commonwealth of Nations. In 1974, the Heimlich maneuver was first published in an article. In 1946, the execution of Romanian dictator Ion Antonescu. In 1917, Hank Gaudy became the first MLB player to enlist in the U.S. Army during World War II. In 1880, the first payphone service was introduced in the United States. On to Wednesday. We took our magic bands in 1977. Bob Marley and the Wailers released their masterpiece, Exodus. They drew influences including blues, soul, funk, and rock, and obviously reggae. In 1967, Aretha Franklin topped the Billboard Hot 100 with her rendition of Otis Redding's Respect, transforming it into a feminist anthem. It was later presented into the RIAA and National Endowment for the Arts Songs of the Century list. In 1967, the Doors released their sultry rock hit, Light My Fire. This song catapulted the band into a national stardom. It topped the charts in the top 10 in the UK, Canada, and Australia. Months later, on the Ed Sullivan Show, who asked them to change the lyrics of the part where it says, girl, we can't get much higher, due to inferred drug references. So they said okay, but when they went live, they did the full show without the revisions. On to Wednesday's factoids. It was National Egg Day and Repeat Day. In 2023, Tayyip Erdogan was sworn in for his third term as Turkey's president. In 2015, a Texas doctor performed the world's first successful partial skull and scalp transplant. In 1992, the High Court of Australia recognized the Aboriginal land rights for the first time. It took them that long. In 1988, the movie Big, starring Tom Hanks, premiered in the U.S. The movie was made with a budget of $18 million and became a $151 million success. In 1976, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen went gold. Also that same year, the oldest known copy of the Magna Carta was presented to the United States. In 1946, the U.S. Supreme Court declared that it was unlawful to discriminate in interstate travel. I don't understand that. And lastly, in 1871, Jesse James, his brother Frank, and their gang stormed into the Oback Bank in Corydon, Iowa. Okay, our magic band finally takes us back to today. We began in 1965. On this day in music history, in 1965, Rodgers and Hammerstein's soundtrack to the musical film The Sound of Music began a 70-week run at the top of the UK album chart. The enduring soundtrack was named the best-selling album of the year and continued to hold that title until 1966 and 68, eventually becoming the UK's second highest selling album of the decade behind the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, across the Atlantic. The Sound of Music also hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 200 and set a new record for remaining in the top 10 for 109 weeks. The album would remain on the chart for a total of 238 weeks, more than 4.5 years, while the Julie Andrews-led film broke box office records around the globe. In 1956, Elvis Presley made one of his most memorable TV appearances on the Milton Berle Show. While previously televised performances featured the king of rock and roll covered by his guitar, this particular broadcast found Presley unhampered by any instruments, as he performed Hound Dog. A full body shot found the 21-year-old heartthrob gyrating and dancing, scandalizing the American public and thrilling his fans. In 1993, 59-year-old singer and songwriter Conway Twitty died. After rising to fame in the 50s as part of the rockabilly scene, Twitty found phenomenal success on the Billboard country charts, hitting number 1, a record-breaking 40 times throughout his career. In 1971, Grand Funk Railroad broke a record previously held by the Beatles when they sold out New York's Shea Stadium in just 72 hours. That's pretty impressive. Now, time to go on and go fact finding and have some fun finding facts. Today is known as Sausage Roll Day and World Environment Day. In 2024, Boeing launched its first crewed Starliner capsule toward the International Space Station. In 2017, Montenegro became the 29th country to join NATO. In 2006, Serbia declared its independence from the State Union of Serbia and Montenegro. The decision followed a referendum in May of that year, which showed that 55% of voters favored independence. The last time Serbia was an independent state was in 1918. In 1968, Saran assassinated Robert F. Kennedy, the late President Kennedy's younger brother. In 1956, the district court ruled that segregation was unconstitutional in Montgomery. The Supreme Court cemented this decision on November 13th. Lastly, in 1851, Uncle Tom's Cabin, an anti-slavery novel by Harriet Beecher, was first published. Now, it's time to hop back in the van and put our thinking caps on. It's time for trivia. Question: which city was the first modern Olympic Games held? Answer: Athens. Question: who is the baseball term? What's the baseball term for hitting a ball over the fence? Answer: home run. Easy questions today. Question: at which ancient Greek site is the Olympic torch lit? Answer: Olympus. Bonus question: in Scrabble, which two letters have a value of 10 points each? Answer: Q and C. Now, it's time to take off our party hat. Take off our thinking caps and put on our party hats, because it's time for birthdays. 1943, Michael Davis. 1946, Freddie Stone. 1947, Tom Evans. 1956, Richard Butler. 1956, Kenny G. 1979, Peter Wentz. And 1998, Dave. Not sure which Dave, but Dave. If today is your birthday, happy birthday to you. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. You can check us out 7 days a week with Brian the Rock Stone on WCDI. And don't forget to check out the Top Rope Report every Sunday and Wednesday. Have a great weekend, y'all. Ciao.